Okay, thanks for coming, everybody. The regular meeting of the Morristown Township Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is called in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act with adequate notice provided as follows in the Courier Post and the Burlington County Times, both on July 1, 2022. I'd like to start off, as we usually do, with a moment of silence. Thank you, everybody. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Heiser, would you please do the roll call?
Dr. Alberti.
Here.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns.
Present.
Mrs. Fallows Macaluso.
Here.
Mrs. McCopolis.
Here.
Mrs. Morano.
Here.
Ms. Romano. Mr. Villanueva. Dr. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Weeks.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the board has already met in executive session and now obviously is returned to the public. We'll start off with approval of the minutes. So we have minutes from the November 15th executive and regular meeting, and then also November 21st executive session and special meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
From the November 15th session, please.
Thank you, Mr. Villanueva. Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you. Moving on, any communications that anybody has to share with the board? Nope, okay. All right, then we'll move on to president's remarks. And actually, I'm going to do them from over here. We do it a little differently. Okay. Okay, it's just as well that I'm doing it from here, which I hadn't planned because I tried to write all this down and I couldn't write it down. So I figured I'd just come up here and try to do it. So I wanted to talk tonight in my remarks about change, that cliche, inevitable thing, right? That always happens. And we have a fair amount of change going on. And I wanted to speak about that a little bit tonight. So first of all, as I think everybody's aware, we have a transition with our leadership for the district. So Mr. Volpe, this will be among his last meetings. We're still figuring out some of the details, but he will be moving on to our friends in Hillsborough and leading that district. And if you do even a bit of what you were able to do here, they're in for a wonderful experience. And we really appreciate everything you were able to do with us. Obviously, it goes without saying that we would have loved to have more of it, but you can certainly send down any notes or whatever, anything you'd like going forward. But we wish you the best of luck and thank you very much for that. So other change, we have another gentleman in the audience tonight who may be a new face to some of you. Dr. Joseph Bollendorf is here, former superintendent from Washington Township, and then also an illustrious career prior to that. But he will be voted on this evening. I want to get ahead of myself to be the interim superintendent for the district. So we will be talking about that soon, but thank you for being here and also representing some of the changes going on. So additionally, we will have a change and turnover in the board. So we have a few of our future board members here, and we will certainly look forward to working with you and speak more about them. But tonight, I want to talk about two other board members who will be finishing their tenure with us. And I told myself, don't ramble about this. So but there's a lot I could say. But I'll start with the one I met first, Dr. Alberti, Sandra. So I don't know if you recall, but as I recall, we first met in the vestibule over there in the front lobby at the admin building. We were both interested in filling an interim position. I came in, I met you and I thought, well, I just met one of the people that's going to be appointed. There were two appointments to be made that night. My initial impression, I don't always get them right, but it was pretty right with you. You're an amazing, knowledgeable educator with just a kind of unending depth of experience and passion for the work that in education that you do and the work you do here on the board. And it's been a thrill to get to work with you and be alongside you and see somebody who actually potentially has more passion for this than I do. So your leadership was appreciated in terms of filling that gap after we had Kathy Goldenberg leave to go to the state. So thank you for that. And really just, I could keep going on, but I will pause there and also offer my fellow board members, if anybody else wants to say, actually, we'll do that after. I'll finish my part, but Sandra, if you wouldn't mind coming up. So I'll just read this. Just Sandra Alberti, Morristown Board of Education, June 2016 to December 2022, with deep appreciation for your service and contributions. So thank you very much. Okay, so then the next change we talk about is Dr. Mark Snyder. So Mark, I met because he ran for the board. The same year I ran to get reelected. And I was looking up at Mark at the top of the ticket there, at the top of the ballot. And thought, well, I should get to know this guy. So I think I started, that was the first time I did what I've tried to do each year is call all of the candidates and offer them, you know, any opportunity to ask any questions they have or any thoughts they may have or whatever, share whatever experience I could. And I met with Mark and I remember actually, you know what, now that I think about it, you applied for a vacancy before that, right?
Confidential.
It is not confidential, but thanks though. Yes, so you applied for a vacancy and I thought then you would be an excellent candidate. So when I did see you on the ballot, now that I think about it, I thought this is going to be great. And working with you, actually, I didn't get to work with you initially because you beat me in the election. So, but that was okay because it gave me an opportunity to really, you know, think about what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was get back here and work with people like Dr. Snyder. And so I was fortunate enough to get that opportunity. And not only did we work well together, but we ended up forming, I think, a really good partnership in leadership over the last year. And, you know, when other members of the board approached me and suggested that, hey, you know, maybe you should think about leadership on the board. I think one of the main considerations was that it would be in some sort of tandem or partnership with you, Mark. And I think the only way I could have gotten through it was doing that with you and having you as a partner. And so I very much appreciated that. So it's you know, like you know, with change, you know, it's inevitable. You have to accept it. I'm working on accepting that you won't be next to me on the dais next year, but I definitely want to say I appreciate everything you've done and all the service you've given, not just to me, the board, but the community. And it is a great, I guess, it'll be a gap that'll be hard to be filled. So, but thank you for all that you were able to do. So if you don't mind coming on up. Again, Mark Snyder, Morristown Board of Education, January 2020, right at the beginning of COVID. Good, well timed to December 2020. Deep appreciation for your service and contributions. So thank you very much. So if you two want to say something, and then also any other board members, I'll open up the opportunity as well.
No, I'll just say, so yes, very interesting 3 years to say the very least. I do want to thank the students foremost for continually and constantly reminding me why I chose to serve in the first place, whether it's through their actions, their achievement, and frankly, sometimes their missteps. I want to thank the community for allowing me to serve. I want to thank the faculty and staff for the dedication to our students that I witnessed. I want to thank my fellow board members for serving with me. It was very enjoyable. The only thing I'll say is, I think that it is really important for us as an educational community to have and develop and focus on shared goals at a very high level. And I think that it's imperative, while we might have differences, whether they be in prioritizing certain things or on particular paths to get there, that everybody is moving in the same direction and there are shared goals to point to. And I think our students require that of us. So I think that's what I've tried to do and what I've noticed in the board in the past 3 years. And I hope that continues. So thank you.
I will be brief, although that's not my preferred style. Thanks to Mick for your nice words, and thanks to all my fellow board members for the time that I spent. Some of you know that I do education in my day job also, and I often say that I've had just about every job there is in education, from substitute teacher all the way through district superintendent. And when I thought of the idea of joining the board, my colleagues were like, "Are you crazy?" Because, you know, when you're a superintendent, the last thing you'd want to do is do this on the volunteer side of it. But what motivated me to first apply for the interim and then to run for 2 terms on the board is my absolute passion and commitment to strong leadership, which I thought was essential at the time that I joined the board, was when we were going through the hamster wheel of superintendents. And then also because I believe so strongly that this nation's greatest good is our public education, because it is an entity that shapes the future of our society. It is designed to represent what the community desires. And I think we have done that in my time as president of the board. Even though it wasn't always the case, I always encouraged diversity of opinion, diversity of thought. I think that's what makes public education as strong as it is. Not always the easiest to hear and accept, but that is what this institution is about, that we represent the best in all of us, the best in the community, so that we can best serve the students, not to be mimics of us, but to be their own critical thinkers going forward. And so made up of a board of critical thinkers, I think we set up that opportunity. I greatly appreciate the time I spent with board members. You all should know, as a community, we have one of the best central office staff, the hires that we've made recently with Karen, great leadership, and James, particularly in the last couple of years. Not to mention all of you all doing great things, and then a very strong, very committed teaching staff that is second to none. And so I think we're all in very good shape going forward, and I just appreciate the opportunity to do my time, and happy to go on to the next thing. So thank you all very much.
So just a little more from me, and then if any board members want to share any other thoughts. One other change, I started to speak to it when I mentioned about going into leadership this year, and I was fortunate enough to be selected by my peers to lead this board for the last year. It's been an honor. It's been the thrill of my lifetime, and I mean that sincerely. Thrilling in all the ways that thrilling could be meant, but definitely fulfilling. And I couldn't have imagined, when I was running around these very same hallways, I don't know, 40 years ago, that I would be back in this building in this role. And so I just want to thank everybody for the support and I guess the help you offer to me. And I guess I should say I'm saying this because I really feel like, as I mentioned, change is important. We should embrace change. And when I took this leadership role, I did not intend to do it for more than a year, because I think it's good for people to have opportunities, for the organization, the board itself, to be able to kind of change that leadership around, get new ideas, and keep things fresh. So while I still have another year on the board, I don't plan on being in this role. I also would like a little bit of time back. But I just want to say on this day where some of you know I may be getting a few gifts today. It's my birthday, and that's what I always dreamed about, was to be able to facilitate a board meeting on my birthday. So wish granted. That, you know, I have the gift of leading this group of people who is, I think, one of the finest. I said it at the outset when I started, one of the finest groups of people and most dedicated, and I appreciate every moment that I had this past year. So thanks very much. That concludes my remarks. If any of the board members would like to say anything for Mark or Sandra, the floor is open for you now.
I don't have any prepared remarks, but thank you both. I mean, this is I've learned so much from both of you. You know, I don't have the background in education that both of you do, and really value everything that you both brought. You taught me a lot. We certainly didn't agree on everything over the last few years, but I know that everybody up here, their heart is in the right place. And I do think that we are rowing together towards a common goal. How we get there, we may have difference of opinion on. But I'm honored to have served with both of you, and we'll miss working with you. So thank you.
Okay. Well, they'll be available if you want to talk to them afterwards. So I'll let that conclude the president's remarks, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Volpe for the superintendent's monthly report. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, President Weeks, and happy birthday. First, I'd like to introduce someone who is also sitting in the audience tonight. Later on in the agenda, we're going to be approving a new supervisor of special services from grades 7 through 12, and that's Francisco Santiago. Francisco, would you mind just standing up and giving a wave to everybody? He'll be joining the team shortly, and his appointment will be on the agenda. And before I give a few remarks tonight, I'd like to introduce Ms. Butler, who has a couple of words for some of our retirees. Sure.
Big crowd tonight. Let's see. All right, we have 4 retirees we'd like to recognize tonight. Miss Deanna Knobloch, please come on up. You will be first. This is first. Deanna has been an educator for the Morristown Public Schools for 30 years as a physical education teacher at our high school. Deanna's love and dedication to teaching and coaching was evident in her daily lessons, her interactions with her students, and her practices. In all situations, she's taught her students the importance of maintaining active and healthy lives, to be respectfully competitive with themselves and others, and that hard work mixed with fun can lead to amazing results. Think lacrosse and the egg hunt. Deanna served on many committees for the Morristown High School, including TPAC, SAC, and 1 year as the head of the popular badminton club, which I never knew we had. She also really enjoyed her years of volunteering for the night pep rallies. She coached both soccer and lacrosse, shaping the athletic careers of many stellar athletes. As many of you know, Deanna has coached lacrosse for 27 years here at the Morristown High School. During her time as varsity head coach, she was able to bring her love of the sport of lacrosse to many young women. But in turn, she created a team that was a family and a dynasty. Over her tenure as head coach, she's compiled a record of 557 wins, 44 losses, and 4 ties. This achievement makes her the winningest lacrosse coach in the New Jersey state history. She also ranks number 7 in the top New Jersey high school coaches of all time. Through her leadership, our girls lacrosse program has received national recognition, paving the way for hundreds of young athletes to continue their love of the sport on a collegiate level, providing access to doors that may not have been opened if it was not for her unmatched expectations, her exemplary guidance, and noteworthy inspiration. We wish Deanna all the best in her next adventure.
You know I don't. The smaller the crowd, the better for me. This gives me the opportunity to thank the Board of Ed, both past and present, the administration, Mr. Seibel back there who's hiding behind the corner, my colleagues, and all my great friends over at the high school for being a part of a 30-year career that I have absolutely loved. Becoming a phys ed teacher was the best decision. I'm sorry, the second best decision I ever made. My husband's right there. I got to say that. But being hired here at my alma mater was simply just a dream come true. I've loved every second of it. I've been honored to teach in this district. I'm proud to be a teacher at Morristown and live in this town. And I can only hope that the new girl that follows me loves her job as much as I've loved mine. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, I don't believe Wendy, it's not here, right? No, okay. Wendy Adamczak has worked 20 years as a paraprofessional here for 5 different districts, 7 of those in Morristown. She has found that this district, sooner she would have worked here much longer, but she loves the teachers, Brittany Sheridan, Susan Maurer, who are absolute MVPs, were involved in the students and the kids. She's gotten to work very closely with them over the years and has been a big part of her employment. She loves singing and dancing, of course, learning in the classroom. She volunteered work for back to school nights and the nighttime pep rallies. And even though she's decided to go in a new direction, she's definitely going to miss the faces that are here in Morristown. So we want to wish her all the best. All right, Joanne Kolwitz, she is not here tonight. Many of you come into WAM. She was the secretary that greeted you in the hallway. For many years, Joanne Kolwitz has been with our WAMS family. She's served many roles. Her most notable role was that of the face of WAMS. Sorry, I said that. Since COVID forced us to rethink the arrangement of the nurse's office, Joanne's role changed a little to that of a building greeter. She understood her many jobs so well that I often felt very comfortable with her communicating policies with the parents. The parents grew to expect and appreciate her direct and clear conversations with them regarding attendance and procedures for picking up students or dropping them off. Make no mistake, though, Joanne used the same clear communication with staff as well. Her sense of humor always put life into perspective for our community. Joanne Kolwitz will be missed around WAMS as she embodies the cool, calm, never outrageous personality that we love so much. And that was from Mr. Keith. Thank you, Joanne. Last one. Susan Lippman-Nichols has been with the district for 21 and a half years and has supported the community in a number of roles. She started in Morristown as a 5th grade teacher, and her passion and enthusiasm inspired her to move into a position as one of our elementary challenge teachers. She supported and enriched our students at Baker and Roberts, and she always offered them fun projects to highlight their talents. Susan then moved back to the UES, where she taught 4th grade and 6th grade science. She has fostered many relationships within the district during her time here, and we wish her continued success in her next venue. Thank you.
Can I just jump in? And I'm sorry, Miss Knobloch, but so I went to high school here, and at the time it was Miss Burley was my gym teacher in the early to mid 90s. And so, you know, to see her here tonight to retire is sort of special and bittersweet, I think, for a number of reasons. But I mean, what she did with the girls lacrosse program here is nothing short of phenomenal. I mean, you can't say enough about what you did for the girls program here and the boys program, quite frankly, because it gave us a target to shoot for. So thank you.
Congratulations to all of our retirees. I have a few other words I have to speak to tonight, including some about academic standardized testing, which we have heard about this year already from Dr. Benton, and you will hear further again from Dr. Benton later in the year, or in the new year, I should say. The New Jersey Graduate Proficiency Assessment Test was given for the first time in the spring of 2022 to 11th graders. The New Jersey Department of Education announced in July of 2022 that the NJGPA would be used as a field test only, and subsequently waived any graduation assessment requirement for the class of 2023. District and school results were provided to us in October of 2022, and individual score reports were released to parents through Genesis in November. These are all things we know. The New Jersey Department of Education score interpretation guidance has not yet been provided to districts. So oddly, we don't know how to interpret this data, but we have it and we gave it to you. We are required to report this information out to the public this month, even without the state having provided us that interpretation at this time. So similar to our NJSLA data for the district and high school students specifically, Morristown students scored significantly higher on the NJ GPA than the state average. As we have seen in other academic data, review across student subgroups continues to show that African-American and Latino students, as well as economically disadvantaged students and students with IEPs, are disproportionately not as ready as their peers, according to this test. Performance of our English language learners was not reported due to the small number of students in the subgroup, which was less than 10. And for identification purposes, that is not reported out. However, even before the release of this specific data or any state standardized data, our administration and teaching staff are evaluating current and future interventions and supports for all of our at-risk students. As we learn more about how the NJ GPA measures student learning, the district will look to make any needed adjustments, including but not limited to course curricula, providing additional learning supports to build foundational skills in reading, writing, and math, making adjustments to intervention protocols that identify and provide support to students earlier and more frequently. Since the 2022 NJ GPA was a new assessment and used as a field test only, the district is also looking at other indicators of college and career readiness, such as student performance in reaching benchmarks on the PSAT. For the class of 2023, school performance significantly exceeded both the state and national average performance for both benchmarks. A presentation with this specific data, if you're a data hound, will be available on the school district website tomorrow. However, Dr. Benton, as I had mentioned in the new calendar year, will be giving additional presentations about academic performance that will also help put this data into more context, especially once the state tells us what the interpretation of this data means or is supposed to mean. Also, with the holidays upon us, I wanted you to know that I recently met with a group of teachers who are so appreciative of the gifts that this wonderful community normally provides them during the holiday season. This year, a group of teachers told me what they would like for this year. More than anything, my teaching staff wants you to simply know that they are working hard for your children and that they really want the benefit of the doubt. In our post-pandemic world, less and less people are going into education as a career for a variety of reasons, and I'm pretty sure Ms. Butler can attest to that. This has led to some of our staffing challenges that we currently have and will continue to have in the future. This fact makes it even more important to appreciate our educators that we do have here in Morristown, not necessarily with physical, tangible gifts, but with a note of thanks, ongoing understanding, and a mutual respect. Please consider this as an alternative to traditional holiday gifts during the season of generosity. Let them know. That being said, with this being the last Board of Education meeting of 2022, I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, joyous Kwanzaa, and a Happy New Year to you all. And those conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Volpe. Okay. At this point, we will move on to our student board representatives, of which I see we have 3. Please go ahead and start. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lucas McGill, and I'm your senior class Board of Ed liaison. Tonight, I have some updates for you regarding the senior trip and a few words on what our Morristown High School Madrigals have been up to. The school year is flying by. We've almost reached winter break, which means only a couple more months before our senior trip. The trip will take place from Saturday, March 11th to Tuesday, March 16th. And like last year, it's to Universal Studios and Disney parks. Right now, the latest update is the big roommate decision. Everyone is scrambling to find that last person to fill their group of 4. And we're all super excited for everything that's coming, and I'll keep you updated as time goes on. As for our Madrigals, the holiday season has kept them busy with their famous district tour. They had the opportunity to go to each of the lower level schools and sing some holiday favorites to elementary schoolers. The costumes, music, and lightsaber fights are not the only things everybody loves, but it's a great way to kick off the holiday season for the lower level schools. They've also had some gigs all over the place, from singing the national anthem at Eagle Stadium to a Christmas tree lighting right here in Morristown. Thank you all very much for listening. That's all I have for tonight. So I'd like to pass it off to our junior class liaison.
Thank you, Mr. McGill.
Good evening, board, parents, and teachers. I'm Jack Britton, your junior class liaison. And I'm here to update you about some of our winter assembly planning. So the Morristown High School is currently planning for our annual Martin Luther King Assembly, and this will take place in January. We'll be honoring Dr. King's legacy in an assembly to the student body. We're going to be doing volunteer work at charity organizations, organizing clubs, public relations, and propelling a student creative video all in advance and for this assembly. We're also hosting a new volunteer fair, and this will take place on Wednesday, January 18th. There will be food and an invitation to clubs and outside organizations to promote certain social issues they deem important and to promote volunteering opportunities to the student body. Obviously, like always, the student council will help run and put together the assembly and all the additional add-ons I updated you on. There will be a rehearsal day similar to the Veterans Day assembly that took place in November. All in all, it's shaping up to be another important and successful student council assembly that we put together. That's all I have to update you on tonight. I'll pass off to our freshman class liaison.
Mr. Britton.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophia Baram, and I'm going to be your freshman class representative tonight. It is a pleasure to be here again as the school year is going smoothly. Just recently, Morristown High School Theater has presented its fall play, A Christmas Carol, which was a huge success in spreading holiday cheer all around. The dates of this performance were November 18th through the 19th, and all of the student actors and directors worked extremely hard to produce this amazing performance. Coming up soon is the spring musical Cinderella. The auditions for this musical already took place and the cast is set, and congratulations to everyone who made it in. This amazing musical is going to be presented from February 24th to 25th and March 2nd to 3rd in the new year. Thank you for having us all here tonight, and have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Fromm. Okay. Also, as is traditional, you can certainly go attend to all those student duties you have, whether it be homework, sleep, talking to your friends, whatever you need, or you're welcome to stay. So thank you, though, again, for those reports. Okay, let's move on to the board committee reports. So see, I think we started on this end last time. Start on this end this time. Yeah. Thank you. Finance and operations.
Thank you. So Finance and Operations met on December 6th. And some of the highlights of our meeting included a follow-up discussion on the Building and Grounds Department structure. And we met Mr. Quintero, who is the supervisor, head of Buildings and Grounds, met with us to discuss his thoughts and observations on the structure of that department and the potential for hiring a foreman in that department that would play both a supervisory role as well as handle some of the day-to-day boots on the ground type activities in that department. And so there will be further discussion on that in the near term. We also talked about our storage situation. We could use additional storage here on campus here, as well as at our other schools, particularly as it pertains to storing de-icing material. We store our rock salt on the high school campus, sort of outside the MAC. Is that right, James? And it currently is stored there, uncovered, and we are required to, by regulation, to have a more robust structure to store that in. So we are looking at both short-term and long-term solutions to store those materials. We discussed transportation. Not uncommon to school districts in New Jersey. We are having issues with transportation, not due to lack of trying to hire and maintain our drivers, but the market is getting more difficult in terms of rates of pay. And so our transportation supervisor has been herself driving routes and great job in keeping things running, but we are going to need to look at other solutions to ensure that we keep our buses moving and getting kids to and from school on time. We briefly reviewed our cyber insurance policy. We renewed our cyber insurance coverage. As I'm sure most people know, cyber security is a very hot and sensitive issue for both private and public entities. And the insurance market is not terribly great at the moment. The coverage is becoming more restricted and the premiums are becoming higher, but there are some measures that we can undertake in the next year or two to try to secure better rates for our cyber insurance coverage. And so those are some things that I think the board is going to need to consider budgetarily, make some investments now in our cybersecurity measures to hopefully secure some better rates and coverage for cyber insurance. We also discussed our membership in the GIF, which is a pool insurance program that Morristown was one of the founding members back in the 80s. Is that right, James? And it's typically a 3-year term where we take advantage of sort of purchasing power with a pool where risk is spread among various districts. Our renewal was up or is up now, and the committee recommends that we renew that our participation in that risk insurance pool, and that's on the agenda for approval this evening. Ms. Butler presented a handful of new job descriptions, and she is in the process of revising job descriptions for various positions within the district, and there's a handful of them on for approval tonight, and there will be sort of tranches of job descriptions presented to us on a periodic basis for approval, because those new job descriptions do have to obtain board approval. We discussed our capital reserve and maintenance accounts, and Mr. Heiser and Mr. Volpe recommended that we make deposits up to $1 million in our capital reserve account and a $500,000 deposit in our maintenance reserve account, which is, we typically do authorize deposits into the capital reserve account. And so this would be an increase up to $1 million, which the committee, again, unanimously agreed with. We discussed various grant opportunities. There are some grant opportunities for certain capital projects that we may be able to take advantage of. This is set forth in more detail in Mr. Volpe's brass tacks from last week. We also discussed the minimum wage increase. So Governor Murphy increased minimum wage. We were expecting that it was only going to go up to $14 in January, but there's been an adjustment, so it will actually go up to $14.13 starting January 1st. And so there were a few district employees that we needed to make adjustments for on the salary guide, and those are set forth in the agenda tonight for approval, and that will ensure that we are compliant with the minimum wage laws. We are in the process of searching for a new permanent superintendent. We have our interim here this evening, but as everyone knows, we are looking for a new permanent superintendent, and an RFP for search firms will be opening on January 4th in the new year. And so we briefly discussed that. We had some fairly robust discussions, and these discussions, I'm sure, will be percolating through all of the committees about priorities for budget. Obviously, most of that discussion is driven by administration and what their priorities are. But we talked about kind of what, from a very high level, what some of the F&O committee's priorities are. And, as everybody knows, the budget calendar, we're heading right into it. We're heading into the meat of it right after we all take a breath during the holiday break. We will be right into budget season. So more to come on that. And as I said, I'm sure all the committees will be discussing what the priorities are. So that is in sum and substance what we talked about at our meeting on the 6th. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Villanueva. Okay, we didn't,
We didn't have a meeting for communications committee, and I don't remember if it was in the context of curriculum, and maybe Cheryl, I'm thinking it came from you. Someone made the suggestion, and I'll just leave it, because that's what I'm here to do, that we consider communications committee almost like public relations committee. And I think we've always kind of like wondered about the role and function of communications committee of the board, and thinking about it from a purpose perspective of public relations. I leave you with that thought, to do with as you will, but I thought it was a good suggestion.
all right, well, thank you, Dr. Alberti. Maybe there'll be a consultant on the position for you on that. So Cheryl, go please.
Thanks, Sandra. Let's try this again. I did make a suggestion related to calling it community relations. Just there is somewhat of a distinction between public and community. And the idea was that community relations sets up more of a tone that it is really meant to hear what the community is thinking, feeling, wants to see, and bringing us together. And I think it will have more, if the board agrees that that's the direction we want to go, it potentially will have more purpose and substance attached to it going forward. Thanks for the reminder that I said that.
All right, well, thank you for that conversation about potentially community relations committee. So Dr. Snyder, would you like to do policy?
Sure. The policy committee met this morning. Melissa, Jill, Claudine, myself, Karen, and Mike. I'm not doing last names tonight, evidently. We talked first about the policy 163, which was a holdover, which deals with quorum. And it was the recommendation of the board attorney to adopt the Strauss-Esme changes. Quorum was and continues to be 5. So that's something that you'll likely see on for first reading in January. The other topic of discussion was policy 9190, which is the community organizations and clubs, and to another extent 9210, which is parent organizations. This is the ongoing conversation we've been having in this committee on what to do with this and both of these policies. The conversation today, we were trying to start the process of what we do with the policy as written. The committee agrees that it's going to have to be rewritten and probably further delineated in terms of what these various organizations fall into and what it means to be a certain organization and what category certain organizations fall into. But as of now, any affiliate organization has been communicated with, and the hope is from the policy committee that we can communicate after the new year what criteria would be used for the policy committee and the board at large to recommend that particular organization remain an affiliate organization based on the events that they propose doing the following year. As it states now, there isn't a set of criteria that would be used to determine. So we talked about criteria such as the intended audience, the liability of the events proposed, the purpose, be they student experience or fundraiser, adherence of a particular event or a group of events to district standards as they are. So again, without any sort of delineation on those criteria, it would be up to the individual will of committee members next March to sort of suggest continued affiliation or not for any of those groups. So that was the conversation today. The policy committee agreed to sort of continue the conversation into 2023. Again, with the expectation that the work needed to adhere to the policy as written, as also with an eye towards revising the policy going forward. The only policy on for first reading this evening is 5512, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. This was something that was unanticipated to be on for first reading tonight, and is unfortunate in light of the timing that the administration thought they would have. There are substantial changes, if you're reading the agenda, to the language of the policy, but the actual substance and the process and procedures that currently exist in Morristown, the changes are really minimal. The thing that they're still working on to continue is there's a template letter that needs to be developed to communicate preliminary determination and steps and timelines. But the reality is this doesn't change current practice with how Morristown deals with HIB. So it is the recommendation to continue to look at it and propose possible revisions between first and second reading, knowing that it needs to be on for first reading to stay minimally compliant is how administration understood it. It was originally thought this could be on for January, but the timeline was moved up, and I'll let admin talk to that if there are additional questions. And then the committee also expressed many concerns with the HIB law as it is written, unrelated to this policy, but just HIB in general, and the district and the difficulties it causes districts in implementation. So that's it. There are no changes to anything for second reading.
Okay. Any comments or questions? I just have one. When you were going through, kind of the idea about talking about the criteria, you mentioned specifically liability and then district standards.
We mentioned a couple.
But I'm just saying of the things you mentioned, those, I was just curious if there was more detail about the district standards or where you left that.
No. No, there was no sort of specific, just those were the kinds of things that we were looking at to sort of make some determination. So, but on any of those, it's a broad spectrum. Like, again, I'm a measurer by trade. So when I look at things like that, there's a level of subjectivity based on any of those. So I think at the very least, providing the level of what it is that the board would look to say, and again, we also discussed that's unrelated to like what it means to be an affiliate organization, which is also not terribly clear. So anyway.
So when you say that with an eye towards kind of revising the policy potentially, it's to make that more clear potentially, or?
That would be, that's in the big bucket of someone else's problem, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Curriculum, please, Ms. Romano.
Curriculum met December 8th. It was Dr. Benton, Mr. Volpe, Dr. Alberti, Dr. Snyder, Ms. Makopoulos, and myself. So we met and we did discuss the NJGPA field test, and really Mr. Volpe kind of summarized our discussion. We discussed the presentation and the results that the district received, and really looking to how we're going to use that data and move forward as the district, and moving forward with the state testing, how we'll adjust our preparation for the test in the future. Then we also discussed how the district is continuing to adjust for learning progress and assessing for assessing learning loss and the district process for assessing progress and instructional decisions that we're making throughout for learning loss. Dr. Benton reviewed that the district as a whole goes through the cycles of progress monitoring occurs on a regular basis. We continue looking for better ways to convey that information though to the community as a whole. We review the state of the district. We assess the data. There is an overall district review with the admin team. We also go by grade level and content area with the admin and district team and the team teachers. There's intervention and support programming. There's tier 1 classroom level interventions that are happening throughout the district. There's tier 2 interventions. That's basic skills interventions, K through 8 and level classroom interventions. There's also specialized interventions and curriculum interventions. There's Title I summer programming that occurs. There's also tier 3 interventions that happens with individualized learning plans. So she kind of went over that just to review. And we all, as a district, are continuing to look for ways to address the learning loss. So we addressed that. We also looked at how district is looking at curriculum development. Throughout, we also took a look at the review of the current process for curriculum development. We reviewed the current policies that do address curriculum process. 2200, 2210, 2220, 2230, and 2240 were reviewed for reference. And then we also took a look at 9130, and then also pulled during the discussion, an additional policy was brought up, policy 2510, the adoption of textbooks. Reviewed the policy as a committee and noted that the superintendent shall develop regulations for the selection of textbooks that include effective consultation with professional staff members at all appropriate levels. Mr. Volte suggested that we look at a procedure for practices currently what they are and formalize them into a regulation. So proposal that will be discussed at future committee meetings for drafting a regulation for that could be discussed at a future meeting. So that was the meeting there. And then, at the end, just much thanks for Dr. Alberti and Dr. Schneider, as they had been serving on the committee for the past 3 years, 6 years. So, very much appreciated their contributions all those years on curriculum. So.
Any comments or questions? Yes, I'll ask one. So our F&O committee, I forget which one. I think you might have met after us. I'm not sure if you met before or after us. After, okay. Our F&O committee took on the appearance of a curriculum committee for a bit because we were talking about learning loss.
Oh,
Yes, we got kind of in the weeds on that. And the question came up, is there something else? I know we've had the state of the district communication, but you talked about all those details about what's going on. Was that talked about in the sense of being able to put something else out to help the community understand what all those efforts are?
I think that was the follow-up that Karen was then given. Yeah.
So one of the takeaways from the finance committee was that we're doing all the things that Ms. Romano just listed out, but maybe doing a better job of communicating that to out publicly. So in the curriculum committee, I mentioned that discussion and that kind of feedback that from the other committee. And so one of the things that we're going to be working on as a CNI team is kind of putting together a multi-tiered systems of support in a chart, if you will, that's easily communicates what our different levels of support and interventions are. And that will also tell a story about how we use data and assess in order to properly make sure that we're providing supports at each of those levels. So probably at the January, February curriculum committee, that'll be something that I'll be able to present out. And then once it has gone through the committee structure, it would be something we could post to our curriculum site.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Ms. McCopolis.
I just wanted to say, just to follow up with what Dr. Benton was saying and from the committee, I think one of the main takeaways from that discussion was that we cannot over communicate about how our students are doing with learning, recovery, and progress, and that we have to always remember that students are at different points in their growth and development, and some students are recovering, they're recovering at different paces. And so we just have to be very clear in the communications that we are addressing that the administration and the teaching staff are addressing all of those needs. And we're very cognizant with Dr. Benton and her team about how important it is to just keep communicating that and keep the lines of communication open, so that from our position on the board, we are really doing everything we can to create the conditions to make all of our students successful and help them catch up quickly. So Dr. Benton, I do appreciate your being open to all these conversations on, so much, and translating that for all of us and for all the parents and the community is super helpful. So thank you.
And then going in very different direction. An email prior to the board meeting was a different item that was being pulled from tonight's agenda that was then getting kicked into committee following this meeting. I just want to make sure, is that item going, when you said it was going then into the committee structure, is that going into curriculum? Is it, where will we be finding that item now moving forward?
Because of the email that came to everybody, we can bring it to all the committees so that all board
All of
members have a
them,
level
okay.
of understanding.
Just want to
Yes.
make sure we're all going to get that,
Yes.
because that was
Yes.
very relevant. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any off-board committee reports? Okay.
I missed the More Arts meeting this evening because they were meeting at the same time as the board meeting, but I did get a message that the Holiday Arts Festival was a success, and they did the sound for the tree lighting at the community house at the beginning of December. So I just wanted to give them some kudos.
Pulling double duty and representing and being here at the same time. Multiplicity. All right. Any other off committee or off board committees? All right, hearing none. We can move on. Thank you, everybody, for those reports and the conversations around them. Okay, we now can move to our first public comment period. As we've been trying to help the public understand, this first public comment section is for agenda items and agenda items that we will be going over tonight. So it's an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts, their comments on items we will be voting on in the immediate future. So as usual, you come to the mic, please address the board. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak, and it's not necessarily a question and answer period, but if you are seeking an answer, it's best to follow up with a question. And then also I can remind people that while you can help us understand your positions or your feelings tonight, you don't have to wait till tonight. You can certainly send those to us and communicate with us anytime prior to tonight. All right. So with that, I think I covered everything that we need to. I'll entertain a motion for public comment to be opened. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. The mic is available. Anybody? Okay. So, all right. Adjourn public comment, this first one. So moved, second. All in favor? Aye. All right, moving along. Okay, we'll move on to the reports to the board section. So we have 5 items, including approval of budget transfers and approval of bills. So I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 5 under letter A here. Thank you. Second. Any comments, questions? Any of these? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Moving on to recommendations of the superintendent. We have the policies and procedures, the ones for first and second reading. So it's items 1 and 2. Let's entertain a motion for those 2 items.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving on. Under letter B, educational program. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 items. So motion to approve those 4 items. Thank you. Okay, any questions, comments? Nope. Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, now we'll move on to the finance and business section. So I will call out number 1. This is the appointment of the interim superintendent, Mr. Bollendorf. So details are in there.
These are separate because that one has to be by roll call.
Yes, yes. Mark was just pointing that out to me. Thanks. I'm going to miss you, but I won't have to do this. So, okay. So a motion for the approval of the interim superintendent as noted here in the agenda. Thank you. All right. Mark and Sandra. All right. Any questions or comments? All right. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Volpe. Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes. Went too quickly.
I just wanted to say that we're extremely fortunate to have several very well qualified candidates, both internal and external, apply for this position. It has been my position that it would be best for our district to have an interim superintendent who has an established relationship with our schools, our staff, and our community. As a district that has experienced an exceptional amount of turnover of superintendents, I believe that stability and continuity is imperative right now. And I think that an interim would provide same. That being said, Mr. Bollendorf is an exceptionally qualified candidate, superintendent, and I truly do believe he will make an excellent interim for us. And although my first choice was an internal candidate, I do obviously intend to work together with Mr. Bollendorf to continue moving our district forward on the path that we had begun establishing under the leadership of Mr. Volpe. And he will certainly have my full support.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Burns. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go with the roll call vote, please.
Dr. Alberti,
Yes.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns. Mrs. Fallows Macaluso. Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mrs. Morano. Ms. Romano. Mr. Villanueva. Dr. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And Mr. Bollendorf, we look forward to working with you. Okay, so now we have the remaining items, 2 through 6. Got that one, right. Number 7 is being removed. That's the one that Ms. Romano asked about that will be going back to all the committees. So items 2 through 6, a motion for approval. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on to employee relations. We reviewed this exhibit in executive. Items 1 through 14. Of a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thanks. Any comments, questions on these? Okay. All in favor?
Roll call.
Oh, sorry. Almost got there. Roll call vote.
Dr. Alberti,
Yes.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Fallis Macaluso, Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mrs. Morano, Ms. Romano, Ms. Villanueva, Dr. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion carries.
thank you. All right. I had one job. Anyway, suspensions. We have this letters A and B, suspensions, superintendent's HIB report. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of these two items.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, thanks. Any questions, comments? And these, as a reminder, are the ones we reviewed at previous executive session, not tonight. Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, thank you. The remaining item is informational only about our enrollment data. Okay, move on to old business.
I should have addressed this before. I don't know if we would give Mr. Bollendorf an opportunity to speak at all. I don't want to put him on
Oh.
the spot, but he did.
Yes,
Yes,
so
okay.
they go to the order.
Gotcha.
Yes, but thanks for that reminder. Okay. Any new business? We're getting there. We're close. What's that?
The budget calendar that was distributed.
Okay. Yes, so acknowledgement. So there's a new calendar, budget calendar in brass tacks. Any questions or comments about that? As my in-laws keep bringing my phone here, I guess wanting to talk to me. Sorry, I'm a little distracted there. Okay. All right. What's that? We're good there? Okay. So moving on, second public comment section.
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? Okay, this is the general public comment section, doesn't have to be on agenda items. Again, information you want to share with the board, not a Q&A, up to 3 minutes. Nope, I see people not moving towards the mic. Okay. Nope, yep. We have it? Okay.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Empel and I teach here at WAMS. I would like to commend and thank the UES Unified Sports Advisors, Aline Sweeney and Mary Kate Sturbeck, for their role in Inclusive Schools Week, as they help to create and organize daily videos, Google Slides, and activities for the students throughout the week. These activities took place during homeroom, during lunch and recess, as well as other times throughout the day. We would also like to recognize all of the UES teachers, paras, and staff for facilitating those activities. It was a great week.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Laura Edwardson, and I teach here at WAMS as well. I'd like to commend our paraprofessionals and teachers in the self-contained classrooms who learn and implement and communicate with our students using low-tech to high-tech augmentative and alternative communication, AAC, which is the equivalent of learning a new language, sometimes using more than one communication system. And we appreciate your time, effort, and energy.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matt Emerson. I'm the head girls basketball coach, and I came from practice, which is why I'm dressed like this. So I just want to throw that out there. I do dress better when I go to the classroom.
No
I
dress
teach
code.
special education here at WAMS, and I would like to commend the Baker Media Specialist. Our Baker Media Specialist organizes our author day. Our media specialist plans, organizes, and promotes the author by buying of the books, which happened this fall at Baker. The staff participates in this fun event for the elementary students to increase their love of books and reading and writing. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christina Finnegan and I teach eighth grade language arts here at WAMS. Tonight, I would like to commend Christy Durst Master at the 26th Annual Burlington County State of the Joint Insurance Fund Dinner. Christy Durst McMaster, a paraprofessional at Roberts, was awarded the JIF Safety Hero of the Year Award for her quick actions in helping a kindergartner that was choking during lunch earlier this year. Her actions show her dedication to the students at Roberts. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kim Martin. I teach here at WAMS Science, and I would like to commend the high school staff who helped to plan, facilitate another excellent Veterans Day assembly in November. We returned to an in-person ceremony in the MAC gym. The band and the madrigals performed as well. All the veterans were invited to a reception after the ceremony to meet and speak with the students. Thank you very much.
Hi, Lisa Trapani. I teach Spanish at the high school, and I'm the MEA president. I'd like to welcome Mr. Ballendorf to our district. I would also like to thank Mick Weeks for his service as president. We look forward to you continuing on the board. Also, Dr. Alberti, who I've known for many years, and Dr. Snyder for your expertise and your dedication to the board the entire time that you have been public servants. So I speak for all of us when I say we do appreciate your volunteer actions and your dedication beyond the meetings in this room. So you will be missed. I would also like to thank Mr. Volpe for his service to the district, recognize that we, almost a year to the date, worked together. It was a pleasure, and I wish you well in your future. Then, in the spirit of recognition, something that I believe that I, in representing the MEA, have been remiss in, and which we will do on a monthly basis now, is we would like to recognize all of the donations and help that the schools have received from the Home and School Association. We should have been doing this on a monthly basis for many years, and we have not, but we are going to start. Here's a list of all of the activities, probably not complete, but pretty complete, of the activities or events that the Home and School Association sponsors and or facilitates for our schools and for the benefit of our students. So starting with book fairs, picture days, yearbook photography, the turkey drive, sock drive, boosterthon, author days, assemblies, purchasing of technology, playground equipment and furniture, the beautification of our schools, the fourth grade ice cream social, grade bingo, the fifth grade grand carnival, the sixth grade celebration, art for the sky, staff breakfast, luncheons, and dinners, which we do send them thank you notes for separately. Field days, media center mural, vestibule mural, virtual reality lab, which is right over there. Homecoming dance, college mock interviews, college fair, senior class back to school breakfast, senior class picnic, senior class recognition night, senior class memories breakfast, staff holiday cookies, project graduation donation, wrapping paper fundraiser, Miss Chocolate, not sure what that is, but apparel, adult trivia night, fun run, Care Solace, girls and boys state, and then 5 $1,000 scholarships every year. So I think it's important, and we'll do it more on a monthly basis so that the community and everyone is aware of how much the Home and School Association does for our schools. We are grateful, and we just want to make sure that they're recognized publicly. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Penny, and everybody. It's great to have the opportunity to hear about several of the things that are going on. We know these great things are going on. It's just they don't always in detail funnel up to the board. So thank you for sharing that with us. What's that? Yeah. All right. No other comments. I'll entertain a motion to end public comment. Okay.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, so then we are to the point of our agenda where we ask if there's anything for the good of the order. For this, I'd like to start off and see if Mr. Bollendorf would like to say a few words, if you don't. Thanks. Please. Got to make sure the YouTubers hear you.
I want to start by saying that, I mean, just coming here and being a part of this meeting and seeing the positive energy that exists in this district is really refreshing and enlightening to see. I would certainly hope that it would continue in that way. And trying to put people's minds at ease. I spent 39 years in education. I was a teacher, a coach, DECA advisor, senior class advisor, vice principal, principal, and a superintendent for the last 7 years. I used to carpool with a group of guys when I got my first job because I used to commute from Northeast Philadelphia all the way down to Millville. They were older. And I was a brand new shiny penny. And they would consistently tell me that at some point in time, my idealism would wear off. It never has. And it never has because of one thing, because I've never lost focus of the most important thing that we do. And that's we work with kids. Everything that we do, everything that we say is about children. So my hope in coming here would be able to continue that mission. It's been my lifelong work, and to help this board, to help this community, to help our staff, to help everyone in this district the best way that I can. Mostly what I've learned in my life is by facilitating and paving the way for them to do what they do best: teach in the classroom, supervise, instruct, lead. These are the things that you already have great people in this district doing. It's not my goal to come in here in 5 months and to turn the card upside down. It would be my goal to help continue to facilitate that. And if along the way, if my experience can bring something to the table that can add to what it is you're already doing, then that's what I hope to accomplish. So I appreciate the confidence that you're giving me. I'm certainly hopeful that I can help you get to the next place in your journey. And I wish you all the success in doing that. And I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bollendorf, and we're certainly looking forward to tapping that experience. So anybody else, anything for the good of the order?
I have one.
Please.
In regard to policy 9190, as Dr. Snyder was reviewing the minutes with us, I guess I just would like to make, well, I think that when we start to consider criteria like all events and events adherence to district standards without a better explanation or definition of those standards, I think, I hate to use that lawyer expression of a slippery slope, but that's how it feels to me. And I do sincerely hope that we as a board and as individuals on this board remember that those standards, if we do set them in relationship to these events, should be the standards of the district and not of us as individuals. Thanks.
I'm also on the policy committee, and I'd like to chip in here because as Mr. Snyder was reviewing the minutes, I don't think that we talked about setting standards as objectively. I think that we were picking out some of the language in 9190 that currently exists, and some of the language that currently exists, I looked back at my notes, was consistent with the goals and objectives of the district. So I recall the conversation being about making sure that events associated with affiliated organizations would be consistent with the goals and objectives of the district. I completely agree with you, Melissa, that we wouldn't want it to be super squishy or to be inconsistently applied. And I don't think that that was the intention. It was just up for first reading, and we have lots more work to do. And I think something just to reinforce what Mr. Snyder said, it was also that the categories in the current policy are super old and outdated. This thing's been living since 1992 and just been tacked on and tacked on. And I think there's a real opportunity, like
Ms. Benton is going to look to other schools to see if maybe they have less complex policies with more clear and simple categories for clubs, booster organizations, and affiliated organizations, so that we don't have to get in the way of micromanaging, but more so as a board, just making sure that the annual plans of these different entities do reflect the language that we talked about and that currently sits in the policy, the goals and objectives of the district.
Okay. Any further comments? Anything else for the good of the order? Okay. All right, well then I will wrap up this section by saying, well, I'll tell you what. Let's, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. How about that?
So moved.
Moved. All right, so I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season, enjoys time with friends and family. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Extensions? Aye, okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night, travel safely, and we'll see you.